Welcome to lecture 13. In the last lecture we discussed about the transparency and accountability of which is required to maintain in a public organization, including the urban local bodies. Today we will discuss very important part of the local governance, that is the capacity building. Now from the lecture from the initial part of this course, we have been discussing that urban local government is a third tier of the government and it has got much more responsibility than the earlier times. We have discussed 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, Municipal Act, and we have discussed that now the urban local bodies and urban local government, they are enjoying and they are getting much more work responsibility. They are having the responsibility of discharging essential services. They have the responsibility of conducting and doing the planning work in the municipality and developing the basic infrastructures. So, the moment we talk about more responsibility, more job, more task, so similarly it comes that unless a organization is stronger, if organization is improved than the earlier, organization cannot perform. So, one very important part of that organization improvement or development is that capacity building. Now, what is the meaning of capacity building and how we can do the capacity building, that we will discuss in 2 lectures. So, today and next lecture. So, let us start that part. Today we will discuss the significance of capacity building in urban governance and the dimensions of the capacity building and the training and what is the role of the urban local governance. Now, the significance of the capacity building is that if this is the earlier responsibility of any government and you have enhanced the responsibility, and because of that maybe earlier the capacity was like this and maybe now there is a enhancement of the capacity up to a certain limit. Now, how do I fulfill this gap of larger responsibility and the capacity? So, responsibility is very high and capacity is very less. So, as a result of this phenomenon, there is a immense pressure on the urban local bodies functionaries, the people who are working in the development authorities, the elected representatives and any persons who are working on the grassroots level. I tell you one of my example that in a short term training course I was interacting with the public representative of some municipality. So, one of the public representative, they told that that in today's time the expectation of the people from the public representative and urban local government is huge. They not only come for the developmental and basic services to the municipality, they also reach to the municipality and the elected representative even for their family matters and for their matters related to their community disputes and conflicts. Now, the question is, and they are saying that sir, we do not get even essential minimum time for our own family. So, that is, I do not believe that it is a isolated events or isolated example. It is happening in every grassroots level areas on the local governments where people are working. That means, considering the huge responsibility and the job and task required to be done ahead, the capacity at the local level is very less. So, we need to enhance this capacity, and to enhance that capacity we need to learn that what to enhance, how to enhance, what to do, how to do. So, with this thing in mind, let us discuss few theoretical very important part. Now, when we say capacity to do some particular responsibility or particular function, it comes to individual level on performance, that how a particular person can perform better, or a section can perform better, or a municipality as a whole perform better. So, the performance depends on 3 factors. One is environmental, motivational and behavioral. So, let us see that what does all this terms mean for our purpose. Now, environment is like there are many offices which have the shortage of basic office infrastructure. Working environment is not good, softwares and equipments was not there. I have seen many municipalities and urban local governments where the people were trained under the schemes or were trained for computers and any other computers, but in the municipalities computers are not there. So, after the training they came to the municipality and they cannot use their enhanced knowledge and the skill. So, that kind of problem I have seen the municipal corporation and the municipal office where there is not adequate space for the visitor sitting. So, these are fundamental issues and the problem or shortage which required to be improved. I have seen municipal offices which is having tremendous political problem, political disturbance, and disturbance is such that the functionaries cannot work properly within their work environment. So, if you consider all this problem, the ultimate outcome or the result of this problem is this non-performance or shortcomings in the service delivery. So, environmental factors are the major important factor which is, so this environment, please take a note that this environment is not the natural environment, this environment is the basically working environment of any organization. The second part is the motivational. Now, each and every local government and their staffs need to be motivated for their better job. We have discussed earlier that municipal staffs are appointed by a service commission set by the state government for particular local bodies. Now, there may be motivational problem, they may be demotivated if there is no promotion policy, job tenure, job security, or maybe job profile is not good, or there may be a lack of incentive schemes. And in the vice versa, if the municipality can provide better promotional facility, job security, job tenure and accountability and better job profile, the motivation can be improved. So, you can understand that environmental factor is basically working level factor and motivational factors basically the factors which act on the individual level but it has to be done by ULB. Now, we have seen organizations where the organizations are having fantastic environmental condition, better infrastructure equipments, better working atmosphere, all the rooms are air conditioned, there is no problem, and they have comparatively better motivational or better staff promotion policy, staff tenure security, working profile, etc. Even then there are few working staffs or there are few functionaries who do not work or do not perform, simply because if they do not perform they are not punished. So, or they do not want to perform, they do not have the adequate willingness to perform any particular job. So, that is related to their behavioral element. So, behavioral elements is basically personal matter, internal matters, how a person behave irrespective of environment and motivational. So, behavioral matters basically consist the knowledge, skills and attitude. So, knowledge can be in terms of the qualification and the educational degree what we acquire from the universities, the skill sets or the competencies what we achieve from the professional courses and the academic courses, and the attitude is basically the value system which enhances or which influences us to work or not to work. So, that is the basic part which is there within all of us, that is a part of behavioral element. So, in short we call it as a EMB which is responsible for performance. performance. So, out of this EMB, the environmental factors and motivational factors are the organizational factor or the external fact within the organization other than other than individual factor, but the behavioral factor is something some attributes which is there within a particular or individual. So, let us see how this affects. Now, within behavior we have told that there are knowledge, skills and attitudes. So, whenever we call about not knowledge, it is about the knowing something about facts, procedure, whether that particular person knows about that procedure. Suppose a person is working in your organization, he is supposed to know how to assess a building valuation, how to sanction a building plan. So, he need to know the facts and the process and procedures involved on that particular job. And then standards. A person who is working on the water supply and its network, he should know that what is the minimum standards and benchmark for the water supply in an urban area. Then working environment and most of the cases this knowledge can come from the degree, educational degree, experience or exposure. And then skill, there are various kind of skills which is required to be acquired. Some skills could be physical, some skill could be interpersonal, social, intellectual. For example, the people who are working at the grassroots level for the cleaning staff or the garbage collection and all those job, the people who are involved on those job, they need to physically active and physically fit to do some particular job. On the other hand, a person who is working on the municipalities as a executive officer or a officer or any other staff or the reception staff, they need to be very good in interpersonal skill and social skill. And a leader, especially the elected representative, the planner, engineer, architects who are working to make a plan for the municipality, to make the schemes, to make the project planning of the municipality, they need to be intellectual in terms of the getting actual information and doing something in a better way. So, that is the skill part. And apart from this, the attitude also qualifies a person, whether the person is being prepared or not. It can be to the people or the quality or the safety towards willingness to change or willingness to perform some particular job. So, out of this EMB parameter what we discussed, that is environmental, motivational and behavioral. Now, for this environmental and motivational problem, we need few intervention which is called non-training intervention. Let me give you some example, that if your office does not have essential equipments, essential infrastructure, so there could be added office equipments, there could be, if it is required, or building. Many municipal office does not have adequate and bigger building. The ward committees, they also need a small building. So, this is the essential part. Second is the working environment, how it can be improved in terms of the working hours, in terms of the protocols, norms and standards. For the motivational, there could be like stated promotion policy, then a system of incentive for for better performance. Now, when we say incentive for better performance, it is very difficult to give financial incentive to a person who is working in the government sector, but sometimes in the government sector the incentive could be given in terms of recognition. I know I have seen few municipalities, they have started system of giving various color codes of the elected representative. The elected representative who are performing, who are working in a better way, sometimes they are called as a green coded municipal functionaries or municipal elected representative. Those who are performing in a moderate way, they are called like yellow coded, and those are who are not performing or not working up to their expectation, they are red colored. So, they displayed those. So, those kind of systems can also be tried in the municipality, whether it can be incentivized, and also if there is some amount of non performance or non working, there should be a system of disincentives. So, at the organization level or office level and at the administrative level, you need to take few actions which will come under non-training interventions. That means, with training you cannot resolve these issues, you have to do something at your organization level or at your administrative level. But wherever you find behavioral issues, like people are not performing or working because of their behavioral problem, either they do not have the adequate knowledge, or they have knowledge but not doing something because of the lack of skill, or they have knowledge skill both but not doing because of their lack of willingness. In that case, it needs basically training intervention. So, training intervention is a capsule of work related or work linked knowledge and skill which is given or which is provided either at the training institutes or at the urban local body itself. So, those kind of training interventions can be designed for every cadre or every level of the functionaries. Now, let us see in little bit more details that how training interventions work. Okay. Before that, let me just mention that what are the capacity building initiatives by the government. When you say government, there are central government, as I mentioned, state government and local government. So, at the central government there is a program called capacity building in short it is CBUD. So, Ministry of Urban Development initially started this program earlier. Now, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, in short it is MOHUA, they are implementing this program, and under this program they have enlisted several training entities to deliver the training for the local government level and the development authorities. And similarly, at the state government level there are state level institute and funding. So, all these are coming towards the local level for the training. So, at the local level it is required to implement those training, and you need to implement in collaboration with state government, because your state government will facilitate the process of the funding under the capacity building for urban development. Right now there are various schemes going under Government of India like Smart City, like Amrut, like Swachh Bharat Mission, Hriday. So, they have started integrated capacity building for the the capacity building for the urban development, that is integrated CBUD program. So, in this integrated CBUD program, all the urban local bodies, they are supposed to get training capsules for their functionaries. Apart from that, whenever you do a large project where significant capital investment is required, for those project there are some amount of funding always reserved for the capacity building. Usually it is within 5%, that is also given under the various schemes by the central and the state government. So, now let us just have a look of the conceptual dimensions of the training. Now, why we need training and when we need training? So, we need training when there is a change of organization. Sometimes organizations changes, for example, in our case the municipalities or the corporations, earlier they were not a government organization, after 1992 they become a local government. So, the moment they become local government, the accountability, responsibility and the expectation has increased manifold. So, that is why some kind of training is required for their staffs. When there is a technology and technological change, the municipal accounting system has changed from single entry to double entry. We will come to some module about the municipal accounting system and the finance, but I just mentioned that because of that change in the technology, earlier it was done fully by the manual methods. Now, they are doing all the accounting and its procedure by computerized method. So, that change of technology, change of system also needs training of the concerned manpower. Then if there is a change in the policy, let me take right example, say when after the JNNURM in 2005 and subsequent other programs, Government of India they wanted to have reform linked program for the urban local bodies, and they took some policies like withdrawal of the Urban Land Ceiling and Regulation Act, and then starting of the users fees in the urban service delivery. So, some policies, some actions were mandatory, some were optional. So, when municipality or the urban local bodies they are supposed to implement all those policies, they need to know about the implications of the policy, the intricacies of the policies and the reform, and accordingly they need to apply. Similarly, there are housing policies, there are environmental policy, lot of policies are applicable. So, for this policy they need to take a training for those policy matters and the reform matters. Then it is the people. When there is a change of people, sometimes I have told you that municipality is a geographical concept also. And it happens that when the municipality expands beyond the geographic limit, then after some time you need to delineate or redelineate the municipal boundary to include the added population. So, when there is a added population means added responsibility, added expectation. So, that is another reason that your concerned persons, concerned functionaries, they need to be trained for the new areas, for the new people or the new geographical locations and the setting. So, this is the reasons why we need training in any organization. So, it can be either organizational change or organizational matter, it can be policy matter or it can be technology matter or the people. So, we organize training as a training intervention for the capacity building for more rapid development, increase output in terms of human resource, improve quality of the product on services and less wastage of time, money, materials or people, and better utilization of the resource in terms of land, in terms of finance, in terms of the human resource, and also we can avoid accident. So, through training we can definitely change the behavior of the people and we can enhance the service. So, the change of behavior is basically resulting to change of service. Next, just have a quick look of the definition of the training. Training is basically a planned process to modify attitude, knowledge and skill through a learning experience to achieve effective performance in an activity of range of activity to satisfy the needs of the organization. So, please see the key words in the definition of the training. The first keyword is the organization, second keyword is that it is a learning experience, third is the attitude, knowledge and skill, and it is aimed to improve your performance through the range of activity. So, please keep these few 4-5 points, because in your organizations either as a officer you have to conduct the training program for your staff, or sometimes you need to give the exposure to the staffs, or sometimes you also need training for the betterment of the performance. Let us see the quickly that what is the systematic approach in training. This is required to know, because in municipalities and urban local bodies often you will be asked to organize training or to conduct training. Now, what is the systematic approach and the stages in a training? Now, the first stage of a training is the identifying the training needs. So, training needs means the gap of the knowledge between what is required and what is the existing. So, if a particular function, if the knowledge level is this, so if the knowledge and skill level required, and this is the knowledge and skill level which we have, existing knowledge and skill. So, this is becoming the gap. So, if we can measure this gap and we can list down this gap, this is becoming the, this amounts to training need. Then after knowing this need, we need to plan that how to fulfill that gap of knowledge and skill, and how to bridge that gap by using some training or capsule of training. That part we are calling as a plan and design of the training. So, in the plan and design of the training, our objective is to fulfill the knowledge gap and skill gap by designing. So, here the key words is design and planning. Designing the duration of the course, the venue of the course, target participants, target training entities or the training institutions, and the modalities of the course, whether the course will be online course will be offline course, then the methods, media, everything, faculty. And after this designing part is done, then the next job is to implement the course. The course could be implemented at your place or maybe in the training institutes, and after implementation next is the assess the result, whether the training course could fulfill the gap which was identified at the first stage, that is training need analysis stage. So, if you find that further training is required, so you go back again to the first stage and measure the remaining gap what is required, and maybe you have some refresher course in later time. So, this is called the systematic approach to training, and to remember this we have a, so IN for identifying needs, D for design, and I for implementation, and A for assessment. In short, it is India. So, it is very easy to remember that identifying needs, design, implementation and assess is the basic stages of a systematic approach in training. So, do not forget these stages, because often as a functionaries or as a elected representative or as a technical person, you have to conduct many training in your organization. So, with this we will summarize today's lecture. Today we discussed the essential factors of the capacity building. In the capacity building, we discussed that why it is required. Capacity building is required to improve the organizational efficacy in terms of the individual and as a group. In organization, there are lack of performance or lack of the results, and it is caused due to three factors. One is environmental, which is basically the organizational infrastructure, working environments, etc. Then motivational is the reasons or the elements which motivates people in terms of the work, like promotion policy, the work security, etc. And there could be behavioral, which is basically a person's individual internal matter which enables a person to work or not to work. When we say behavior, it is the in the combination of the knowledge, skill and attitude, and knowledge and skill and attitude combinedly makes the behavior part. For any organization, the environmental and motivational change can be done by the non-training intervention, by taking organizational and administrative actions, whereas the behavioral change or the behavioral improvement can be done in terms of knowledge, skill and attitude by training interventions. And then we also discussed that training interventions has various methods. We discussed the dimensions, the need for the training, the definitions of the training, and also we have discussed the systematic approach in training or SAT. To remember, it is the identification of the need, that is the first stage of the systematic approach, that is identification. Second is the design, and then it is implementation, and then is assessment of the training results. So, in short, it is India to remember. So, next lecture we will discuss about the capacity building and training part with some example and cases, that how it can actually be organized and how the result can be assessed, so that you can get some actual idea that about the training and its efficacy. So, with this thank you very much for attending this lecture. I hope you are enjoying the lecture. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.